Hey team, how y'all doing? Good to see y'all. Just thought I'd sit over here in the desk. Normally I'm sitting over on the couch, but I don't like sitting over here on the desk because I've nothing to put my feet on. I much prefer to have my feet up on something. Shove the bin under here and see if I can put my feet on the bin. This is actually a yoga chair. I actually love it. It's got like, let's see if I can show it to you. It's got like this back on it, and then you can put your legs, you can cross your legs up on it. But I can't sit with my legs cross-legged for an hour because otherwise they will get cramp. And actually, my my legs are so sore from training legs with Mark yesterday. It's wild. So good to see y'all. You've all been asking about my hoodie. Aren't these hoodies great? We have these in the shop on the Sculpted Vegan website. Nobody cares, work harder. Every time I wear this, people are always go to me in the gym. Love your sweatshirt. Like, it's great. Everybody loves the Nobody Cares, Work Harder logo. I'll tell you a quick story about it while we're waiting for people to get on. Yes, there will be a replay, Cynthia. Don't worry. It'll be pinned in the group. So whenever my husband years ago, he had like a group with his directors in the company and the company that he was working with, or his company. And he said to me, "Oh, look at that." He says, he said, "Look, that's our company logo." And he showed me his WhatsApp group, which had like an icon on it. And it said, "Nobody cares, work harder." And I was like, I love that, because that really just spoke to me at the time, because I was like, I can't lift one of my eyebrows because of my Botox. I was like, I can lift this one. I can't lift this one. And I'm like, I look a little lopsided. Anyway, I digress. Sorry, I keep seeing my right eyebrow lifting and my left eyebrow not lifting. I said to him, I love that slogan. Nobody cares, work harder. It just spoke to my heart. Like, it really did. It just really spoke to my heart. I was just like, really, genuinely, nobody cares. Like, have you ever like met someone and they start telling you, like, and you go, how are you? And they go, oh, haven't been great recently. I've had this ailment, or I've had a bit of a pain, or, my daughter hasn't been very well at the minute, or, something like this. And you go, oh, that's terrible. Or maybe you've had the same problem, right? And you for a minute, like, oh, that's terrible. Like, you can feel empathy for this person because you've had this struggle. And then you go, okay, bye. And you go off in your life. Do you think about that person again? Like, maybe when you're talking to your husband or your wife or your daughter later, you go, do you remember such and such? Do you remember Jean down the road? I was chatting to her earlier. She says she's not feeling very well. She's got a bit of a sore back at the minute. But like, do you really care about Jean's sore back? No. Most people don't care, because it's not because we're not nice humans. It's because nobody really cares. So we bitch and we whinge. For those of you who've just joined, like, what is she talking about? I'm talking about the Nobody Cares, Work Harder logo. Nobody really cares about your ailments and your complaints. And so I just say, like, it basically means stop complaining, just work harder. Nobody cares, work harder. So good to see everybody today. We have I have no idea what happened there. We did something on my computer and it just swiped away from the live. It just like took me away. So hopefully I'm back now. I was like, where did I go? What happened? Sorry, I'm here. I'm back. I was saying hello. There is going to be a replay. Let me just say a few hellos and then we'll get started. Anna's here, and Kelly and Charlotte and Catherine and Colette and Cynthia and Tamara and Donna and Jennifer and Mavis and Dawn and Sarah and Jilly and Sandy and Jody and Josephine and Lorna and Tara and Jennifer and Razzie and Donna and Helen and Jody and Katrina and Kimberly and Aneta and Jilly and You're all saying you're back, you're back, you're back. Good to see you guys. And Eileen and Virginia's here too. And you know what? Whenever I scheduled this, I realized that Mark is actually live over in the VIP hub at the minute. And I was like, oh no, I hope I don't wreck his live. It's like a competition. Do you want to see Mark more or do you want to see Kim more? So hopefully I haven't wrecked Mark's live, and hopefully he's still live over there and doing well. So still alive over there and doing well. I hope so too. So here's how this masterclass came about. You can thank Laura, okay, also known as Buns in the office. So Laura said to me, do you know what? I really loved the portion you did in your Friday masterclass about, free plus a profit. And I said, really? She goes, I think it was really brilliant. She said, it really made me, think about all the different areas where I overspend. And she said, I was just thinking about the customers. And I was thinking about the members and the people in the masterclass, and they loved it too. And we've had so many people coming into the groups and saying, you know what, Kim was right. I looked at my finances. I cut out my Weight Watchers. I stopped paying my gym membership that I never use anyway. I stopped Netflix. I did this, and those things gave me the monthly payment. And so we are seeing this continually. And I realized how many people don't have very high self-esteem in this area. Now, you might be like, self-esteem? So I thought, whenever I was planning this masterclass, I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm actually going to teach self-esteem. I'm going to teach a self-esteem module. And I'm going to teach you how you can make $1,000 in one day. And this is something that I have done in the past, but it's also something that I would do. Now, I'm a very, very resourceful person, and I have very high self-esteem, and I'm going to define what that is to you in a minute, but I have very, very high self-esteem. So whenever I have a problem, I can look at that problem in a myriad of ways and solve that problem very quickly because I have very high self-esteem. Now, you may be wanting to join the Extreme Body Makeover, and I hope that you do. I hope that after joining the 5-day challenge, you were like, I'm totally wanting to join the Extreme Body Makeover. I'm absolutely, I'm in for it, but I really just can't afford it. Okay. So many of you are just like, I just cannot afford it. I just can't make the money. And I'm the kind of person who I would rather pay the money up front than pay the monthly subscriptions. And whenever I really want something, then I can usually make it happen if I really, really, really want it. So I thought I'm going to show you tonight how you can simply, if not easily, make the $997 payment that it would require to join EBM before. Well, official cart close is April 8th, but we will keep it open till April 15th for anybody who needs to slip in at the last minute. So I'm going to show you how you can make $1,000, if not in one day, but before April 8th. And whenever I thought about this, I thought, this is exactly what I would do. If I did not have the company that I have, or I didn't have, if I did, if I didn't have money, of course I have money because I run a big company. But if I didn't have money and I needed to find $1,000, I thought, what would I do? And so I sat down and I wrote down what I would do. And I thought, I'm going to teach you guys what I would do. So let me just pull up my notes. I'm just going to drop the file here into another window to make it easier for me. 1 second. And then I'm going to go back to StreamYard. Okay, perfect. So here is what I would do if I wanted to make $1,000 in one day. Well, first of all, let me just define what I was talking about a second ago, which is self-esteem. So a lot of people think that self-esteem is all about feeling good, but it's not. Self-esteem is not about how you feel about yourself or feeling good in the moment or feeling good in the future. It's really nothing to do with feeling good. Feeling good or feeling confident in yourself, that is something that happens as an effect of having self-esteem. So what actually is self-esteem? Well, I used to work with a company years ago, and I still work. My company coach used to own a massive company, and she now works full-time with my company. And she helped me define self-esteem many years ago. And I have lived with this version, or this is like how I define self-esteem and have done ever since. So she defines self-esteem as the number of possibilities a person perceives in a given situation. So basically, I'm going to say it again, actually. Self-esteem is defined as the number of possibilities a person perceives in a given situation. So the more options you perceive when you're presented with a problem, the higher your self-esteem. And this comes into play all the time with me. Like quite a recent example that I can think of is last September, we were in the middle of a really big launch in the company. I think it was either September or November. I think it was maybe November. It was the second one we did. We did two big launches last year at the end of the year. We did the 4-week shredded body and we did the over 50s, the over 50 shred. And I think it was in the middle of the over 50 shred, our email marketing software, Keep, that used to be Infusionsoft, shut down our account. And it shut down our account with zero notice because we had exceeded the complaint rate. Now, we cannot control the complaint rate. We just send emails and then you get these assholes who like to complain about the emails for no reason. And I honestly think it's just because people just like to complain and they also like to hurt you. They like to go, well, I'm just going to complain about you and report you because, I'm eaten up inside and feeling nasty today. But also people might not actually realize the effect that complaining about an email has on a company. Like it really hurts your sender reputation. So anyway, our entire email account got shut down in the middle of a launch. And Jamie, who is an Infusionsoft master and expert, she was absolutely freaking out. She wasn't like, rah! But she was like really like having a hard time with this because she is the one who manages Infusionsoft. She's an Infusionsoft partner. She's worked with them for years. Like she was completely stunned and completely resourceless. And so she was starting to panic, right? And she was like, what do we do? What do we do? Oh my God, what do we do? And so we had like this emergency meeting whenever we realized this had happened. So I said to her, right, get Alan. Alan used to be our creative director or our CTO, Chief Technology Officer in the company. And he's also a designer. And he still works with us, but he's gone back to being freelance. But he helped me build the Sculpted Vegan. I was like, call Alan. Okay, call this person. So anyway, we had a meeting with Vanessa, my director of marketing, Jamie and Alan and me. And we were saying, okay, what do we do? And Alan was saying, okay, you could do this, you could do this. And I just started generating options. I was like, okay. So let's think about this wider, right? So Keep are not gonna, reinstate us. Can we use the $1 Million Mentor account? Can we use the Yoga Talks account? Do we know someone who has a Keep account that we can send emails from their account? Because we needed to send the emails because we were in the middle of a launch. And also we needed to send the delivery emails for people who purchased the program, but we couldn't send anything. We were completely shut down. So I just started generating all of these options. I was like, what about this option, this option, this option, this option, this option, this option, this option? And I just started pulling all of these options. And Jamie goes to me, I have never in my life seen anyone generate options quicker than you. And I was like, really? And she said to me, I don't know whether it was in the moment or afterwards, but she said, it was absolutely astonishing. She said, you just started coming up with all of these different options that I hadn't even perceived. Now, in the end, the option that we decided to go with was I said, get on to Keep and find out what their options are. They wanted us to sign up, like pay an exorbitant amount to this marketing company to clean up our email sender. It was actually the best thing that ever happened because we learned about all of these best practices and all of these things we weren't doing and what was important, what wasn't important. And we went from being completely shut down and they weren't going to reinstate our account to being moved back onto one of the best sending servers that exists. We cleaned up our email account and increased our sender reputation so dramatically after that crisis that we are now like the blue blood of email senders. And we did it very, very quickly. And even Keep were astonished by how quickly we got back onto this, what is called pristine server. I won't bore you with the details, but it stuck with me. And I said to Jamie, do you know why I think I'm such a good option generator? And she said, why? And I said, because I'm not fearful. I don't get fearful when presented with a problem. As soon as I'm presented with a problem, my brain instantly goes, whoa, and it opens up. So whenever you're presented with a problem and you're fearful, what happens is fear triggers your fight or flight. Whenever your fight or flight is triggered, you stop taking in data. All the blood drains from your brain and it goes to your external organs and it drains away from your internal organs. So your digestion doesn't work properly and you gear up for fight or flight. So if you're stressed or nervous or anxious, you're in constant fight or flight, which means that all of the blood is circulating around your external organs to get you ready to fight or run. Your digestion is off. That's why you can't eat whenever you're nervous about something, because there's no blood going to your digestive system. Your body isn't digesting food. It's not it's just not moving things through efficiently. You lose your appetite because all of the blood has gone to your external organs and away from your internal organs, and all of the blood has drained away from your brain. And now all you're thinking about is running or fighting, fight or flight. It's a lower brain function. You can't control it. It's an inbuilt mechanism, but that's what happens. And so Jamie was in fight or flight. So whenever you're in fight or flight, your perceptual window goes like this. It like closes to here, and you have like tunnel vision. You can only see one option, and this option is very funny, depending on how bad the fight or flight is. But whenever you're not in fight or flight, and whenever you're not fearful, your perceptual window goes like this, and it opens right up. And so because I have worked for so many years with my coach, I'm not a fearful person. Like I can't remember the last time I was afraid. Like it takes a lot for me to ever get angry or upset or worried or anxious. And I have now trained myself, I think, that the minute I'm presented with a problem or a difficult problem or a problem to solve, my brain immediately starts going option. Like I start generating, I am the fastest option generator you will ever meet in your entire life. And it's one of the reasons why I'm as successful as I am. Modest too, clearly. But it's one of the reasons why I'm successful. And so I have very high self-esteem. Now, I have very high self-esteem in many areas, but you can have high self-esteem in one area and low self-esteem in another area. So, and this is all to do with money, by the way, just for those of you who have joined, you're like, I thought this was a money masterclass. She's going to teach me how to make $1,000 and she's talking about self-esteem. Bear with me because I never do things the way other people do them. This is very important. So if you were to put me in a hospital, right? In A&E in a hospital, and you were to say, okay, Kim, just this light's terrible, it's really gray, but it's just the light from my computer. So if you were to put me in a hospital and you were to say, right, Kim, now you're working, we're short on nurses in A&E and you need to work in A&E today. Well, I have very, very limited knowledge about, about what happens in a hospital or in A&E or, injuries or whatever. And so you'll put me in there and I have very low self-esteem. I don't have a lot of options I can generate because this is a completely new situation for me. But you might be a nurse and you've never been in A&E before, but they might drop you into A&E and you're immediately generating and seeing all these different options because you're a nurse and you've worked in a hospital. So you have very high self-esteem in that area. I would have very low self-esteem in this area. So you can have high self-esteem in one area and low self-esteem in another area. That doesn't mean you have low self-esteem overall. But I am a very good option generator. And then the other thing about it is I want you to think about like anytime you feel like you don't have any choice. How does that feel for you whenever you feel like you don't have any choice? It feels shitty, doesn't it? Right? It feels like you are at the effect of the world. It feels like you are a victim of the world. Like you don't have any choice. You're like, you want this thing and you just can't get it. And the only option that you can see to get it is this option over here, but you can't even choose that because, you work full time and it's not an option. So it's not really an option for you. So you feel like you have very low self-esteem. Well, quite often what we do, and this is one thing my coach taught me, is to do what's called the self-esteem exercise. And so the self-esteem exercise is where you look at a problem and you write down all of the options that exist to solve that problem, whether you would choose them or not. And that's what we're going to do today, but I'm also going to be very specific with you. So what does this look like? Well, let's say that you needed money to go on vacation and you didn't have money to go on vacation. And let's say you're a teenager and you need money to go on a school trip. And the only option that you have to get money really that you can see is to go to your parents. So you go to your parents and you say to your parents, can I have $500 to go on a school trip? And your parents go, no, absolutely not. And you're like, oh. And now you feel like a victim will pay for you to go away on the school trip, and all your friends go on the school trip. She got to go on a school trip, right? And so you may feel you have very low self-esteem in this area. Well, what I advise with people whenever they have this kind of problem is to sit down and write down every single option they have, whether they would choose it or not. So in this option, you would write down, you'd say, right, well, what are my options? I could ask my grandmother for money. I could ask my grandfather for money. I could ask my friend for money. I could get a job. I could become a prostitute. And you're like, oh, It's your 17-year-old girl, you can't become a prostitute. Well, no, I wouldn't choose it, but it is actually an option, right? I could set up an OnlyFans account. And you're never going to do that when you're 17. No, you're right, I'm not, but it's an option. I could sell feet pics. Apparently, that's a big thing these days. People taking pictures of their feet and selling them online. Who knew? My daughter told me. She's 14. There's another option. I would never choose that option, Kim. Of course you wouldn't. But it's still an option. Write it down. I could steal the money. I would never steal money. I know you would never steal money and you're never going to choose it, but it's still an option that's available to you. Write it down. So what I do is I get people to write down all of the options that they have, whether they would choose them or not. And something magical happens when you do this exercise, is that suddenly you start to see that you are not in fact a victim, because you have all of these possibilities open to you, both negative and positive. And suddenly your self-esteem rises and your good feeling about yourself rises and you feel like a pretty fucking powerful person. Because before you thought you were a victim and now you realize that you have 27 different options for solving this problem. And who knew that you had 27 different ways to solve this problem? And something magical happens whenever you do this exercise and you realize you have 27 or 52 or 34 options to solve this problem. And suddenly it doesn't really seem like a problem anymore because you have all these options. So all you need to do is choose one or choose two or choose three and give them a try. Like you could borrow the money and then make a plan to pay it back. Like you might not, but well, it is an option actually, like what could I do? So that is what I do whenever I have a problem. And so what I'm going to teach you today is now exactly what I did when I needed money. Okay. And this was actually fairly recently, believe it or not. So before I get into the nitty gritty, I'm going to tell you my personal story, what happened to me. So 2 years ago, I decided to build an app from scratch. And the app is called Only Fitness. I've been talking quite a bit about it recently because we're launching it this year. Only Fitness is the brainchild of, it's not the brainchild. It'll be a brainchild of me. Only Fitness is the culmination of all of the years that I have been building the Sculpted Vegan. It's everything that I use to run and build my business built into an app, and it's free. And I have spent the last 2 years with an in-house coding team who have designed and coded the app from scratch. We've been building this for 2 years and we're finally going to launch it. Have you any idea how much it costs to build an app from scratch? How much it costs to employ front-end coders, back-end coders, pay all the software to build an app? It's pretty fucking expensive. I'm going to tell you that now. So I've been financially raping the Sculpted Vegan to pay for Only Fitness, okay? And also the Sculpted Vegan has to support, Lee and Lorraine who work in my house, and Louisa, and then, and Natasha who works at the yard. The Sculpted Vegan has to support a lot more than just a Sculpted Vegan. So I took my eye off the ball. My wage bill had gone through the roof, and I don't know what happened. I think I just had a great big exhale. The company had been making so much money for years. I'd been enjoying, I'd been working really, really hard, but enjoying the money too. And we had been working and working and working and working. And then I got back into my horses and I started, spending a lot more time there. And I had this great big exhale. I'd been working solidly for 6 years. I was honestly tired. And I'd been training hard for 6 years. I took a bit of a break from training. I'll admit I took a bit of a break from the company and I spent a lot of time riding my horses and I took my eye off the ball. I thought our monthly outgoings were a lot less than they were. And I actually thought our monthly outgoings were about £70,000 and they were actually £120,000. So I thought they were about $90,000. They were actually $150,000. That's how much I took my eye off the ball. So whenever I was looking at cash flow and I was looking at money in and money out, money in the bank and budgeting Only Fitness and everything I had to pay there, and I took on a front-end developer last year who cost $20,000 a month. I think I'm in the wrong business. I need to become a front-end developer. $20,000 a month. That's what his salary was. That's what he required to come on board. It was shocking. But anyway, it was necessary. And so I took my eye off the ball. And suddenly we got to the end of the year, right? And then, of course, EBM was running for 6 months. We weren't launching any other programs in the 6 months that Extreme Body Makeover was running. And I got to about July and I realized I was fast running out of money. Like the company was running out of money. And not only was it running out of money, I had $190,000 to pay to the winners of Extreme Body Makeover. And I had this massive wage bill to service. And I had all these expenses of the company to service. And I had our cost of living at home is pretty high because we have 4 homeschooled kids and a chef and a housekeeper. And my husband works from home and I work, well, I have an office, but I'm back and forth from the home. And I suddenly realized, shit, I have taken my eye off the ball and we are running out of money. And so I had to work my ass off. It was the best thing that ever happened to the company. Anyway, we restructured the entire company and the launches and how we do them. We ended up having the best financial quarter that we'd had in the whole year. But what happened was I started to look at my finances at home, which was something I had not done for a long time. Now, you might be a great budgeter, but if you're anything like me, you're maybe not, right? And I'm not a great budgeter. I never have been. I tend to spend it and then go, fuck it. I'll think about it further down the line. Like I'll worry about it later, right? Tend to spend it now, I worried about it later. And my coach Nancy always says that I have a parachute and it always works out for me. I just pull my parachute and I always seem to land, right? Things have always worked out for me. So what I did was, I thought I really wanted to transform the behavior in me, right? And I was working we have 2 coaches in the company, and I was working with Danny at the time, who's one of the company coaches, and I really began to look at my money issues and what causes me to spend money the way I spend money, and where can I be better at spending money. I began to look at my fears and my, around money and my, where I overspend and where I'm, fearful to spend. I began to take apart all my beliefs about money. And part of the process of me doing that, and it was so cathartic and it was so good for me, for the company, for the family, for the staff, for everybody. Once I started to do that, part of what I started to do, and this is what I want you guys to do, there's a couple of different ideas I have for you, is I began to take apart my household finances. And I broke the household finances into fixed costs and variable costs. Now, I am the main breadwinner in the house, and I have been for a long time. And so, but I don't really know what our bills are because our mortgage has always been the same. Our lighting, our gas, our electricity, all of those things. I've never really paid attention to those because they've just always come out of our joint account, but I don't even know what those are. And so I thought, this is ridiculous that I actually don't know what our bills are. So I sat down at this desk one afternoon on a Sunday, and I went through our entire bank account, and I noted every single item for the last 60 days. I printed them out, I highlighted them, and if I didn't know what they were, I asked the kids and I asked, Ryan, and I asked whatever, and I started to look at what are variable costs and what are fixed costs. Now, the fixed costs are very hard to change because that's your mortgage, your heat, your light, your gas, all that kind of stuff. And even cutting down on, turning lights off and cutting down your gas bill and that kind of stuff, it doesn't make that much of an impact. But where you can make a massive impact is in your variable costs. So I started looking at, first of all, the biggest spend that most houses have, believe it or not, is their grocery shopping. So I started to go through my grocery shopping, and I went through the app. We have a grocery store that we use here called Tesco, right? And it's a huge, big grocery store. And we order all our groceries online, but Lee, our chef, does all the grocery shopping. And so there's a couple of things that Lee does. Lee does a grocery shopping online, which arrives on a Monday, but then he also goes to Tesco every day. And he goes and buys fresh produce every day. And I was paying him, I think, minimal amount, £20 a week in fuel to do that. So I looked at it and I thought, why am I paying Lee £20 a week in fuel to go to Tesco when he could just buy everything that he needs? If he plans better in advance, he can buy everything that he needs and have it delivered on a Monday. So that was the first thing that I took away. I said, Lee, I'm not paying you to go to the grocery store every day, because not only do you overspend when you're there, because you go, a wee bit of this and a wee bit of this and a wee bit of this. I looked at my grocery bill and I was spending, and then we order a lot of stuff from Amazon. So we order a lot of Vital Wheat gluten and vegetable bouillon and salt and all this kind of stuff. So I started looking at all my expenditures and I was horrified by the amount that we spend. We were spending, I think I worked out that we were spending, because we only use Celtic sea salt and Himalayan mountain salt, we were spending, I want to say, £9 a week on salt. In fact, more than that, because we were buying the Himalayan salt too. It was about £12 a week on salt. So we were spending £48 a month on salt. So that's 600, just under £600 a year, which is $900 a year on salt. Salt, $900 a year on salt. I was like, my mind was blown. So I started to look at everything. I started to look at all of the Amazon purchases. And then I noticed that Lee was buying things like truffle oil, which is £10 a bottle from Amazon. I'm like, Lee, why are you buying truffle oil? Oh, it's so I can put a wee drizzle in your soup. I said, I don't need truffle oil in my soup, Lee, and I don't want to spend £10 on truffle oil. I went through our grocery shopping, and I downgraded on brands on so many things. I went to Tesco own brand on cereal for the kids, on oats, cleaning products, rubber gloves, sponges, cloths, bleach, household bleach, all of everything that I could go down a brand on, I went down a brand on. And it was so cathartic to do it. Like, I really enjoyed it. Now, there was a couple of things that Lee really had issues with, like peas, frozen garden peas. The Tesco's own brand were just disgusting. And also I said to Lee, why are you buying little packets of things? Then he's like, oh, I thought it was cheaper. I was like, no, it's not cheaper. It's more expensive. Buy 2 kilos of peas. The little packet is far more expensive. Like, if you buy in bulk, it's cheaper. So I downgraded on kitchen roll, toilet roll, everything. And I saved an absolute fortune. See, by going, now we spend a lot because there's 6 people in ours. We feed 8 people a day, including Lee and Lorraine. And we have a private chef. So he's cooking a lot, right? And you might think, well, Kim, you have a private chef and you're like a multimillionaire. Why are you doing this? Because I wanted to see how much I could save. I downgraded on shower gel, on shampoo for like the boys. Like, they're all using my expensive shampoo. I was like, no, you're using Tesco own brand shampoo from now on. I downgraded on everything. And I think I worked out that between all of the different savings that I made and downgrading on brands and being really putting the squeeze on Lee and Lorraine and cutting out, I used to pay all of Lorraine's, gas for her car, all of her petrol for her car as well, but she drives the kids around. And instead of that, I was like, and I own her car, right? So it's not like there's any wear and tear on it. I own it. I pay for it. So I said to her, from now on, you're not getting a full tank of fuel every week. You're only getting the fuel that you use. So I cut down on Lee, I cut down on Lorraine, I stopped Lee going to the grocery store every day, and he had to plan ahead and order on a Monday, and I cut everything out. And those simple changes alone, just to the grocery shopping, saved me £500 a month. $650 or $700 a month. It was astonishing to me how much I could save. And then I started going through everything else. And then I started looking at all my subscriptions. I went through all of my PayPal. I went into my PayPal account and looked at all my subscriptions. I realized that I was paying monthly subscriptions for services the kids had signed up to 3 years ago. There was a language service that I had been paying for. And I was only I think it was £34 a year, maybe like £7 a month or something. I'd been paying for it for 2 years. Because one of the kids had signed up for it and I hadn't noticed it coming out and they'd forgotten about it. And then I looked at all these other subscriptions that the kids have and I was like, holy crap. And I said, kids, do you need any of these? And they were like, oh, no, sorry. Oh, I forgot to cancel that. Oh, whatever. Like, kids don't remember about stuff like that. I canceled it all, saved myself another $200. And then it was, or another £200. And then from there, I said to Ryan, right, let's look at our Virgin Media, our Sky TV, like, how much of that do you actually use? And he was like, oh, I need all the sport channels. I was like, yeah, but Ryan, we pay for like £150 a month for Sky, broadband, channels, this, whatever. I was like, you're the only one ever watches TV. We don't watch any movies. Like, what do we actually watch? Everyone watches Netflix. So we downgraded our subscription. We weren't prepared to give up on Netflix because everybody uses Netflix, but I went through all my Apple subscriptions and I looked at ones that I was paying for or things that were getting. I went through all of the kids' expenditure because they all have access to my credit cards. And I was like, what's this? And what's this? And what's this? I put a cut on all spending. I said to kids, no one is allowed to spend anything without speaking to me first or clearing with me first. And I And then I realized I was actually paying for a Skin Aid subscription for my mother, which I signed up for 3 years ago. She was having these drinks delivered to her house every month with like collagen or something in them, or I don't know what they were, vitamins and minerals or something. And I signed up to them for like 2 years ago, and I was paying for that. That was £125 a month coming out of my account. I said to Mum, sorry, but your skin is not important to me anymore. Cancel. I canceled everything, and I saved myself a fortune. Now, I know you're probably looking at me going, well, Kim, it's all right for you. You have this big house and this big lifestyle and this big expensive lifestyle. Yes, that's true. I do have a big expensive lifestyle, but that isn't the point. It's not the amount of money or the chef or the groceries or any of those things. It's all of us do this unless you are absolutely OCD with taking your wages, or unless you're absolutely on the breadline. If you're somewhere between not quite on the breadline and, and really quite wealthy, if you're in like the kind of the middle classes, you're wasting money on things that you don't need. I guarantee it. And whenever I started looking at all of the things that all of the frivolous things I was spending money on, I saved myself an absolute fortune. And that is the first thing that I would recommend that you do, whether or not you choose to buy Extreme Body Makeover. I would recommend that every single person does that, and you will be astonished. Most of you, now, not everybody, some of you are like, Kim, I literally have done this and I'm living on £60 a week. I get it. This isn't everybody. I'm not saying this is everyone, right? I'm not saying you're like me. Maybe you are much more careful than I am. But I guarantee if you do that exercise and you take the time to do it, you will find money you didn't even know you had. Now, here's the second thing that I did. This was an absolute game changer. Anytime I went to make an impulse purchase, anytime, I have 2 accounts, right? I have 2 accounts on my phone. So whenever I log into the bank on my phone, we have the joint account that I have with Ryan, and then I have my own personal account. Anytime that I went to make a frivolous purchase, instead of making the purchase, and if I was thinking, oh, I'll get that thing, instead of making it, I went into my bank account and transferred that amount to another account just to see. And I did that for a month. I would go shopping sometimes with Maya on a Sunday because I'm bored. And I won't even tell you how much I will spend. Like, it's a shocking amount. And so, but I have an average amount that I spend on, whenever I go clothes shopping with Maya on a Sunday. And then we will eat out a lot. And I began to look at, well, how much do we eat out? Do we eat out on a Sunday? We eat out, we order in Domino's pizza, sometimes twice a week. Like, all of these frivolities and these things that we allow the kids to do, I stopped them all. And I said, how much money am I allocating to this and this and this? And I saved myself an absolute and utter fortune. Now, that's the other really great thing you do. Just transfer. Sorry, I want to tell you, actually, in the month that I transferred money that I would have spent on impulse purchases, do you know how much I had in my other account? £1,800. £1,800. Now, don't get me wrong, I earn a lot of money. For you, it might be $180. For you, it might be $18. I don't know. But all of us are making frivolous purchases. What I mean by frivolous: Starbucks coffees, a sandwich at the deli because you couldn't be bothered to get up and make your sandwich in the morning. How much money do you spend grabbing lunch in work? How many of you drive out? And I'm actually going to I'm going to look at the comments here because I want to see the answer to this. How many of you each day don't prepare your lunch and bring it with you, but drive out to a store, or maybe there's a food van comes to work? How many of you purchase food during the day when you're in work? Muffins, coffees, lunch, all those kinds of things. How many people actually do that? I guarantee that if you added up how much you spend on eating out, not just eating out in restaurants or ordering in food, but how much you actually spend on frivolous food purchases because you were too lazy to make your lunch at home and bring it with you, I guarantee you it's a lot. It's a lot. Whenever I've asked people this question and they've really begun to look at it, they realize it is a lot. Now, here's the other thing that you can do. This is what I'm going to finish with before I take questions. So whenever I was thinking, what would I do if, well, sorry, let me just finish one more thing. The other thing I want you to look at is what clubs you're a member of. Do you pay for Weight Watchers? Do you pay for a gym that you don't go to? Like, do you have an online yoga subscription that you're never using? Do you, like, that's another thing. Whenever I looked at my bank account, I realized I had been paying a subscription to Yoga Glow, the online yoga account, for like 2 years. And they'd even increased the price of the subscription 6 months ago. And I hadn't noticed. Isn't that terrible that I hadn't noticed? And of course, I immediately canceled that. So here's what I would do if I needed $1,000. And this is exactly what I would do. And this is what I'm going to tell you to do. Now, not all of you are going to do it. Some of you might do it. But for those of you who want to do it or who find it interesting, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. If I needed $1,000 tomorrow, I would set up a GoFundMe page and I would ask my friends to help me. And here's exactly what I would do. If I wanted to join Extreme Body Makeover, because I genuinely, really wanted to change my life, and I believed that this program was the program that was finally going to help me to transform with the support that Kim was offering and all the coaching. And I knew that I was going to put my money where my mouth is and commit to this program. I would start a GoFundMe. And here's what I would do. I would write my story in the GoFundMe page. I would write my emotional journey to what had got me to where I was that I wasn't happy with. Or I would write the story of where I wanted to go. So let's say you're actually relatively in good shape and you've been training for a while, but you really want to do a bikini competition, or you want to train for an Ironman, or you just want to finally feel happy in your skin. Whatever your why is that you want, that you have for wanting to do this program, you need to write that in a story. You put that story on a GoFundMe page and you ask your friends to help. You ask them to invest in your journey. You ask them to share it with their friends to invest in your journey. But the thing about doing a GoFundMe page is you have to sell yourself. You have to become a salesperson. You have to advocate for yourself. And the great thing about starting up a GoFundMe page is you have to put your money where your mouth is. And that is what separates the women from the girls. Because someone who is truly serious about showing up and doing the work and transforming their body with Extreme Body Makeover won't worry about asking their friends to help on a GoFundMe page, because they know that they will do whatever it takes, because you will not want to let your friends down. There's something magical that happens when people get behind your journey. When someone has invested in you, you are much more driven to not let them down than you are to advocate for yourself. So what I would do if I needed $1,000 is I would set up a GoFundMe page and I would ask people to join my journey. I would ask them not to donate, but to invest in me, because this was the program that was actually going to help me to change my life. And do you know how much people love to be asked to help? Even if it's $1, $2, $5, $10. Like, I have donated to so many GoFundMe pages. It's not even funny. Like, you've no idea the amount of money I have given to GoFundMe pages. Like, a friend shared, someone I didn't even know, there's like a candle maker in Belfast. He's called the Bearded Candle Maker. And he was scammed out of £30,000, I think, or it wasn't 30, it was maybe like 11 or 12, like really badly scammed out of like all of the money in his bank account. And he started a GoFundMe page and he was like, this is really hard for me. You know, I'm not the kind of person who would normally, you know, ask for money, but really, I just don't have any other options. I mean, he made this video about how hard this was to ask for money, but you know, that if they didn't get this money, that he was going to go out of business, and, you know, any little that anyone could help, you know, would be phenomenal and whatever. And a friend of mine shared it on her page, And I was interested in the story. I was like, oh no, this candle guy was scammed out of his money. I clicked on the link and I watched the guy's video, and I looked at, I think it was like £11,000 or something they needed. And they had raised, I'm not sure how much he had raised at the time. I don't know whether it was a fresh one, whatever, but I gave him £1,000. I didn't know the guy, and I donated £1,000. And I did it anonymously, actually, so nobody knew it was me. And I always give anonymously. Whenever I do a GoFundMe page, I never, ever put my name on it. But I always just think, I have so much. And if somebody, recently a friend sent me a thing for a GoFundMe page for a friend of his that had died, and the family didn't have enough money to pay for the funeral. And he said, would you be willing to, donate or whatever? And I said, sure. I gave them £1,000 for the funeral, £1,000. Like £1,000 to me isn't don't get me wrong, it's a significant amount of money. It's not a huge amount of money. It's a good amount of money, And I gave him £1,000 for their funeral. I didn't know the guy, but my friend asked me, and it was important to him, and he was his friend, and he wanted to help the family. I'm like, of course I'm going to help you. You'd be surprised at how many people would be willing to help you if you ask them. But you have to be willing to put your heart on the line, and you have to be willing to put your money where your mouth is. You have to be willing to show up and do the work and bring them along with your journey. And if you are willing to do that, I promise you a GoFundMe page is the fastest way that you can get $1,000. And then what you can also do is, you can set that as your goal. And even if you only got $400 or $500 of your goal, set a jar in your kitchen. Put a jar in your kitchen and call it your EBM fund. And every time you have money in your purse, or anytime a friend comes into your house, ask them would they be willing to donate to your EBM fund, and sell them why you want it. Tell them about how passionate you are about it. Don't be afraid to ask. The problem with most people is they're too afraid to ask, but people love to be asked to help, and most people can help. And there is power in numbers. Whenever I started my company, I borrowed £30,000 from a friend. People say, well, you must have very good friends. I'm like, well, I do. I have a friend who's very, very, very wealthy, and everybody asks her for money. And I've never borrowed money from her that I haven't paid back. I have borrowed money actually in the past from her, but I've always paid it back. And so I said to her, I've started this company, and I think I really need to invest in Facebook ads, and I really want to grow the company. Would you be willing to help? I said, I need a £30,000 loan. And she said, of course. And she sent me to her broker, and we worked out a £30,000 loan, which I was going to pay back over 12 months and with interest. And we worked out whatever the payment was every month. And I paid every single month over 12 months until that loan was paid back. I'm not afraid to ask people to lend me money because I will always pay it back. So that's another thing you can do. If you know someone who could lend you the money, then work your ass off to get the money to pay them back. Get that jar in the kitchen. Sell stuff. I've sold so much stuff. I've sold my kids' clothes, my clothes. I've sold stuff from my mom's house. I searched the classifieds. Whenever I didn't have money years ago, I used to search the classifieds locally, go and pick up stuff that was free, and then give it a polish up and then sell it. I used to get free bikes, free, I don't know, loads of different stuff. And I used to clean them all up and then sell them on for money, maybe like 20 quid, 30 quid, 40 pounds, 50 pounds. And get that money and put it in your EBM jar. If you have the chance to borrow the money from someone, then commit to making the money to pay them back, the full amount, not the monthly payment, but the full amount. You'll be surprised at how shockingly easy it is to make $1,000 when you put energy towards it. Just one more story. A friend of mine, Sarah, she owns the salon La Bella Vita. Those who watch my stories will know I go to La Bella Vita to get my eyelashes done. I actually got them done today, and to get my hair done. Sarah's dad found out recently that he had a very aggressive form of cancer. And the treatment for the cancer wasn't available in Northern Ireland, but there was a treatment which had like a 60 or 70% success rate in Germany. And the cost of the treatment was £40,000. Do you know how quickly Sarah managed to get £40,000 to pay for his treatment? I think it was 4 months, maybe 6. I think less than that, actually. I think it was 3 or 4 months. Her dad was dying. Do you know what happens when you have a motivation like your dad is dying? Do you know how much money you can find and how quickly you can find it? She started a GoFundMe page. She did raffles in the salon. She hosted a gala ball. She set up and hosted a gala ball and got people to donate prizes to the auction and to the raffle. She worked tirelessly campaigning day and night and roped in everyone she knew to help her because her dad had cancer. And she made £40,000 to pay for his treatment in 3 months. It is incredible what you can do when you put energy towards something. But you just have to first realize that you can do it and that you're worth it. I think that this is the thing that I see with women the most. They just don't believe that they're worth it. They don't want to set up a GoFundMe page because they're like, who's going to invest in me? Well, nobody, if you don't believe in yourself. You have to believe that you're worth it and that your journey is worth it. And you have to be willing to put your money where your mouth is. And if someone's going to invest money in you, they probably won't even remember about it, to be honest. But you have a moral responsibility, a moral obligation to get your lazy ass out of fucking bed and do the work. So it's a great motivator. You're much more likely to succeed. But here's the other thing. We have a lifetime money back guarantee. So even if you don't succeed, or if you don't succeed or the program doesn't work for you, because I know if you get the result, you're not going to want your money back. But if for any reason it doesn't work for you, you can get your money back because I'm taking all the risk from this program. So there is no risk on your part. You can give back all the money to people who gave it to you, and you can tell them that. You can say, I'm going to do this program and I'm going to get this result. And I'm asking that you believe in me and invest in me because that will give me the energy that I need to do this. And if you're willing to invest in me, I promise I will not let you down. And if I do let you down and I let myself down, I will pay you back every penny that you donated. No downside. No downside for them. No downside for you. All the downside is on me, but I'm not going to let you fail. Now, if anybody is interested in doing the GoFundMe idea, I am going to, and they want me to help you, I will write a template that you can use as a basis for the GoFundMe, because you have to start with a story, and then you have to say, you have to bring the reader into your journey, and then you have to, sell why you want it and make a promise. But it's much better if you make a video. But I'm happy to make a template, if anybody's interested in that you can use for your GoFundMe page. More than happy to do that to help you. The only thing I would say is you can't share can you share? No, I was going to say you can't share the GoFundMe page in our groups because I don't want everyone being bombarded. And now I'm trying to think, is there any way that I can set out like a power of the masses, like bring the masses together to donate to a fund? Now I'm having an idea. Like, I wonder, could we set up a fund that people could donate to for people who can't afford the program? And we could create, give scholarships. I never thought about that. Actually, that's a really good idea. I'm going to explore that with my team. That's a really good idea. We could actually set up like a scholarship fund page for women who genuinely cannot afford the program. And we will award scholarships based on, and everyone will have full transparency and be able to see how much has been raised, and we'll be able to give scholarships. That could be a really good idea too. But don't let that stop. Don't let that stop you from setting up the GoFundMe page. I'm going to take a few questions here. So Sarah is saying, I'm sitting here cringing about the GoFundMe page. It's very different setting up a page for help with a funeral because you have been scammed out of money and your small business depends on it. Or if you have cancer to buy a fitness program, it's a bit self-indulgent. I think you're suggesting looking at household bills is a good idea. If you ask a friend to borrow money, you have to be able to pay it back. Yes, Sarah, but here's the thing. Whenever you ask a friend to borrow money, you do have to pay it back. So you don't want to borrow money unless you can pay it back or you're willing to do whatever it takes. So here's the thing, Sarah. Are you willing to do whatever it takes? And you're saying you're cringing about the GoFundMe page. Why? Because you care what people think? Because you want to better yourself? Because you want to invest in yourself? Like, if you genuinely cannot afford the program, it's different if you can afford it, right? If you're like, well, I could afford it, but I'm choosing not to, so it would feel a bit weird, like asking people to pay for something. Like the GoFundMe idea, because here's the thing, right? Either you can afford the program, but you're just choosing not you, Sarah, but anyone. Either you can afford it, but you're like, it's just not worth it to me. Or you genuinely can't afford it, but dear God, you want it with all your soul. If that's the case, you would get over your fear of what people think and do the GoFundMe. But for many people, it's like, well, at a push, I probably could. If I worked a few extra shifts, or, if I asked my mom for the money, I know she would give it to me. So a lot of people over here have more options, right? But really, they just don't want it enough. And that's the problem. And that's okay. You just don't want it enough because when the pain of changing becomes less than the pain of staying the same, people change. So if your pain of staying the same is here, and all of the things you would have to do to get the money are here, the pain of staying the same is here, and all the things you would have to do to get the money are here, you're going to stay the same because you're not going to choose a greater pain. But whenever this pain of staying the same is here, you really cannot stay the way you are. You need this program to help you change. Then starting GoFundMe pain goes here. It's amazing what you can do whenever you put your mind to it. Like, I've had people, send me GoFundMe links for their business. Like, I have a friend online who wanted to start a shoe business, and he started a GoFundMe page and raised like $50,000 to start a shoe business. What's so different about him wanting to start a shoe business than you wanting to get fit? And you know what I did whenever I donated to him? Do you know what made me donate to him? I read his story. He's a queer man living in New York. And he, as a young boy, like, he loved to dress up in women's clothing. And he used to go to secondhand stores to try to get to try on women's clothes. And because his feet were quite big, he needed women's shoes in bigger sizes. And one day he was trying on a pair of shoes, and he got his foot stuck in the shoe, and it was a boot, and he couldn't get his foot out of the boot. And he was a teenage boy and trying on a woman's shoe, and he was absolutely mortified, and they had to end up cutting the boot off, and he had to pay for it. And he was given dirty looks and thoroughly chastised. And he felt so much shame around this incident that he, anyway, he had to hide this part of himself. And so what he wants to do is he wants to create a shoe line for queer men, for gay men who like to try on women's clothes, who like to wear women's clothes. And I was so moved by his story and his struggle as a young gay man that I gladly donated. So whenever you tell someone your story, whenever you reveal your struggle, whenever you show them your heart, that is when people are more than likely to step in. It doesn't even have to be a GoFundMe page. You could just advocate for yourself to your friends or family or people you love. But the question is, are you willing to put your money where your mouth is? Because many people aren't. They're not willing to really show up and do the work. And so therefore they don't want to ask for the money, because that means they actually have to do the work. Okay. So let me see. Are there any questions that I can answer? Oh my God, it's already an hour. I can't even believe I've been talking for an hour. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to go right down to the bottom and see what we have. Alison saying, parents are gone. My friend think it's a waste of money, including my kids. I've cancelled everything and still not quite there. Alison, I believe in you. You are a strong woman, and where there is a will, there is a way. I believe in you. Think about what you can sell. Think about extra hours you can work. Like, whenever someone really strives and advocates for themselves, amazing things happen. And now just might not be the right time for you. I'm sorry. What else have we got? May is saying, the thing is, this program will work 100%. The only reason it will not work is if you don't follow it to letter. That is true. It's absolutely true. And Alison's saying she's nearly there. You see, Alison, you are a superstar. You're the kind of person who really will just show up and do it. Facebook user, Kim, you're a living embodiment of your sweatshirt. Nobody cares, work harder, relentless. This is how you win in life, in business and parenting. Brilliant. Thank you for modeling a winner's mindset. This is entrepreneurship and deep caring. Thank you so much. That's really, really, really sweet. I really love that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That touches my heart. Lori is saying, clean out your closet and sell all your jewelry as well. Yes, I have sold handbags. I had one designer handbag years ago and a designer wallet, and I sold them both. to be able to afford something. I bundled up and packaged my kids' clothes and sold them, obviously when they're too small. And May saying, I thought Kim said she sold her kids. I did consider it a couple of times. Would have liked to a couple of times. What else have we got? Nyla is saying, if you reduce the cost, more of us can afford it. We don't have to ask people for money. Or Nyla, you could just work a bit harder and then you don't have to ask people for money. Like, why should I take on the burden of, I've already reduced the cost by 50%. Why should I take on the burden of reducing the cost more when I have a lot of bills to pay than just because you don't want to work harder to afford it? So it's not that people can't afford it. It's that people aren't willing to do the work to afford it. Because I can guarantee you, if you were told that you needed to find £1,000 to pay for treatment for your sick child, I can guarantee you would find £1,000 or $1,000. So it's amazing. People will find the money for what's important to them whenever it's important to them. But why should I take on the burden of everybody else? Because the slogan of my company is actually nobody cares, work harder. So that's what I say to people, work harder. Kim, you're a machine. Thank you for bringing these ideas to us of those in needs. I'm glad you appreciate them. I know people were like, go fund me. Really? Like, is that it? Well, I was excited for this masterclass, but I'm gone. But it wasn't, the people who will reject the ideas will reject the ideas. And there's nothing I can do to persuade people. Like, people who don't want to be persuaded will not be persuaded. And people who are determined to victimize themselves, I'm not saying that's anyone here, but people who are determined to victimize themselves and say, I can't afford it, will never be able to afford it. When you say, I can't, your brain believes you and it searches for information to confirm that. So whenever you say, I will find a way, then you will find a way. So I am very much of the mindset in life of, I will find a way. Like when I nearly went bankrupt last year, no one in my company, well, because I know one was worried. Everyone was very worried actually, but they all trusted that I would find a way. And I always do. I always find a way. And I'll leave you with what Laura once said to me. I remember we were out for dinner and Laura said to me, I never worry working for you, Kim, because she said, I know, oh, see, Laura's here. Laura said to me, we were all out for dinner. It was admittedly after several drinks. And she said, I never ever worry, Kim, because I know that you will do whatever it takes. And that really touched me. I don't know whether I ever told you, Laura, how much that touched me, but your belief in me really gave me, like, because you're right, I will do whatever it takes. I will do whatever it takes to keep this company alive, to do whatever I need to do to protect the ones that I love. I will do whatever it takes. And I think that mindset has really helped me to be successful in life, because if you're the kind of person that will do whatever it takes, you can have whatever you want, because all of us has the capacity for greatness. All of us, every single one of us has far greater capacity than we give ourselves credit for, but we keep ourselves small. But I don't, and I refuse to, and I will do whatever it takes. And if you have that mindset, it's incredible what will happen in your life. Things will appear in front of you that you never even believed possible whenever you tell yourself that you will do whatever it takes. And that just doesn't mean financially, that's just in life in general. So, yeah. You guys were amazing. I love that you all showed up here to listen to me waffle on again. But I am actually exhausted tonight. So I'm going to finish now and go and have a bath maybe, and chill for the night. And I'm trying to think what else I have coming up. I'm sure we have more things coming up which I haven't told you about. But we'll notify you about them. Thanks so much for being here, guys. Love you all so much. Thank you to my team for being here as well, answering comments and questions. If you start that GoFundMe, I want to see it. I'm excited. And if anybody wants me to help them out with the template, let me know and I will create one for you and post it in the group. You can all copy it and amend it and use it for yourself. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. And I will see you all so soon. Okay. Bye.